She was a black attorney driving home in broad daylight when flashing lights cut across her windshield. Within minutes, police yanked her from the car, accusing her of crimes she never committed. And when they opened her trunk, they pulled out cocaine she had never seen before. In that instant, her life was shattered, until the trap they thought would bury her turned into the very weapon that would bring them all down. The sun was blazing high, streets buzzing with honking cars and pedestrians hustling through their afternoon routines, when Danielle Myers, a sharp black attorney, drove down the boulevard. She had just wrapped up a tough meeting and was looking forward to a quiet lunch. Her windows were down, sunlight flooding her car, when suddenly the sharp glare of red and blue lights filled her mirrors. Her heart skipped. Police sirens screamed, cutting through the ordinary hum of the day. People on the sidewalks turned to look. Danielle slowed, pulled over, and before she could process, 2 officers strode toward her. Their steps heavy, faces stern. One leaned into her window, eyes cold. "License and registration," he demanded. His tone clipped, almost rehearsed. Danielle handed them over calmly. She'd been in courtrooms enough to know when someone had already decided she was guilty. The officer smirked. "Step out of the vehicle." Her brows furrowed. "For what reason?" "You'll find out soon enough." The sunlight bore down as Danielle stepped out, the heat mixing with the burning in her chest. By now, a crowd was gathering. People paused with shopping bags in hand, pulling out phones to record. It wasn't a hidden corner. This was broad daylight, in front of everyone. One officer circled to the back, popped open her trunk. Danielle's breath caught as he pulled out a small brick-shaped package, wrapped tightly. He held it up like he'd struck gold. "Cocaine," he said loudly, his voice dripping with false triumph. "Looks like we got ourselves a dealer." The crowd gasped. Danielle's face went pale. "That's not mine. I've never seen that before." But the officers didn't care. The script had already been written. They spun her around, metal cuffs biting into her wrists. Phones recorded the entire scene, a successful black attorney being paraded like a criminal in the middle of the day. Danielle's chest pounded, humiliation washed over her. But beneath it, something colder settled, a resolve sharper than any blade. They thought they had her cornered. They didn't know who they were dealing with. Dragged into a police cruiser, Danielle watched the city blur past in streaks of sun and shadow. The station smelled of sweat and stale coffee. They booked her, shoved her into a cell with a thin mattress and walls that hummed with trapped heat. Hours dragged by. Other women in the holding cell whispered, some staring with sympathy, others with fear. That night, as the fluorescent lights flickered, Danielle sat still, her mind racing, but her face unreadable. Because what the cops didn't know was that Danielle Myers never walked into a fight unprepared. When morning came, shackled and escorted to court, she kept her head high. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, onlookers, people from the street who'd filmed her humiliation. The prosecutors smirked, sure of their victory. The cocaine was their golden ticket. The judge entered. The room fell silent. The prosecutor began, waving the package as though it were Exhibit A in the trial of the century. "Your Honor, we found this in her vehicle. The evidence is undeniable." But then Danielle's defense attorney, a colleague she trusted, stood tall. "With all due respect, that package was planted, and we have proof." A ripple spread through the courtroom. The judge leaned forward. The defense attorney clicked a remote. Screens flickered to life, showing footage from Danielle's own dashboard camera, hidden, nearly invisible to the eye. The crowd leaned in. There it was, clear as daylight. The officer, reaching into his own pocket, pulling out the cocaine, slipping it into her trunk, while the other distracted her. Gasps erupted. Phones came out again, recording the courtroom itself. The prosecutor stammered, "Objection! This is doctored." But it wasn't just one angle. Danielle had more. Another camera in her rear view, and another, wirelessly linked from her phone to the cloud. Every move they made was captured. The judge's gavel slammed. Order! Order in this courtroom! Danielle finally spoke, her voice steady, bold. They thought they could bury me with lies, but truth doesn't stay buried. Not in daylight, and not when the world is watching. The jury stared, jaws slack. The judge's face hardened. These officers will be taken into custody immediately. The same men who had cuffed Danielle the day before were now pale, trembling as bailiffs moved in. The crowd erupted, half in cheers, half in outrage at the scandal unraveling before them. Danielle stood taller. The cuffs that once bound her were gone. The weight of injustice lifted, replaced by the roar of vindication. Reporters rushed forward. Cameras flashed. The people who once filmed her humiliation now filmed her triumph. Outside, under the midday sun, Danielle faced the sea of microphones. Yesterday, I was dragged in front of you as a criminal. Today, the truth set me free. Remember this: power can lie, but it cannot erase the light. The crowd erupted, chants rising in unison. Danielle walked away, her head unbowed, knowing that her stand would echo far beyond that courtroom. If this story shook you, hit that like button, share it everywhere, and let your voice be heard. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from and which moment hit you the hardest. Because the more we speak out, the stronger our fight against injustice becomes.